Hey guys, welcome to Fun and Gun. Got a gun here that I'm pretty excited about. That we got a Sig P226 X5 Legion. I'm gonna go ahead and say a big thanks to my buddy over at the He Teaches My Hands to War YouTube channel for letting me borrow this particular gun. You can check his channel out at the link in the description below to get his opinion on this gun and also see him shoot this gun in IDPA. So when I say I'm excited about this gun, this is a gun that I've actually kind of wanted myself for quite some time now, just about ever since it came out. I've always wanted the original X5, and when they came out with the Legion, it just made me want one even more because I have held these guns multiple different times at different stores over the years, and this one being my favorite out of the three versions that they have in the X5 line here. So while we're talking about the three versions, we'll go ahead and get into a few differences on this version to the regular Legion version, the regular non-Legion versions of the gun. Number one being is the regular versions of the gun, or the X5, have a curved trigger shoe in it. This one has a flat face, as you can see there. The classic version has a different a thumb wedge here. The regular, the other version of the X5 that has the G10 grips has the same thumb wedge on it, and all the controls on all three guns are the same. The classic version also has a set of wood grips on it, which out of the three, I've held all of them. The wood grips look the best, but they're also the slipperiest out of the three, so I guess that makes them my least favorite. These grips are quite grippy. They have a nice texture to them, but out of the three, I think the ones on the X5 that has the same thumb wedge as this one, the non-classic version that has the G10 grips, the G10 grips definitely win out of the three, this being a close second and the wood grips being a third. Also, the G10 grips, in my opinion, look quite cool. I mean, this does have the Legion logo molded into it. Ain't nothing wrong with these grips. They definitely get the job done. Your hand's not going anywhere. I just think the G10 ones look a little bit better. And when I was talking about the controls being the same, they do have an extended magazine release that is interchangeable to the opposite side, so it is ambi. You have an ambi safety here. The only thing that is not ambi on this gun is the slide release itself. And yeah, that's the only non-ambi part. And while we're talking about the safeties, I found this kind of interesting because this gun being set up similar, or something that is more set up for a competition style gun, the fact that these safety levers were like, I want to say 0.200th of a millimeter too wide to fit in the IDPA box, and my buddy actually had to take a file and file these down and re-blue them to make this gun legal, was kind of stupid on Sig's part. I mean, you're building a competition gun, and IDPA being one of the most popular competitions in the US, you could have went ahead and seen that that wasn't going to fit and fix that right off the rip. But I guess the original X5 was never meant to be used in IDPA, and these are the same safety levers because it's actually too heavy. It is like it's a solid 3 ounces heavier than this particular gun, which I found kind of interesting. It's only 3 ounces, a little over 3 ounces difference in the weight because it has a full stainless steel frame and this has an alloy frame. Now, I'm not sure if that means it's a full aluminum frame. There's some other stuff mixed in here. What I will say is it's not magnetic, but only being 3 ounces difference, there must be some kind of black magic going on with the regular X5 there. There must be a lot of weight milled out underneath in the slide you can't see and under the frame and everything, because I figured that the weight difference in these two guns would have been the fact that this one has a comp milled into the end of it and the barrel's slightly shorter for the comp to function. So the fact that it already has less weight on it and it has an aluminum frame and it's still only 3 ounces difference, that's kind of wild to me. And that's, I guess, really the only main differences between all the different versions of the X5s. And so let's go ahead and get into a few other things here, is how the comp itself works with the weight of absorbing recoil, and it does very well with that because, I mean, this gun's still, being a little bit lighter, still over 42 ounce gun. It's not a carry gun, this is a competition gun. It's got some weight behind it, and that also adds to the recoil absorption here. So I'm gonna go ahead and show me shooting 115 grain through this, and then I'm gonna show me shooting a little bit of 124 grain NATO through this, and then we'll come back and we'll talk about how that feels in your hand. Okay, pretty excited to try out this X5 Legion. We got some 115 grain ammo in. Let's go ahead and run it a little bit here. Like that quite a bit. Let's go ahead and put some 124 grain NATO through it, just see how this comp works. Okay, we're loaded up with some Winchester 124 grain NATO. Let's go ahead and see how much the weight in this comp right here actually absorbs the recoil of this particular round. I'd say that works pretty good. Not quite as good. Okay. Now let's go ahead and talk about what the difference in recoil feels like there between the two rounds. The 115 grain with any comp 9mm I've shot so far essentially feels like a 22. So no big deal there. I mean, it's heavy gun shooting 125 grain. You could definitely also load this gun with a hand load and get even less muzzle flip than that. Now I will say when you shoot the 124 grain NATO through it, it definitely helps by having the comp, but the gun being the weight it is and everything, you don't get a whole lot of muzzle rise regardless, but what you do get is felt recoil into the web of your hand right here. You can feel the difference. It's not like unmanageable like some other guns I've did this test with and shot back to back 124 grain versus 115 grain. This gun handles it very well. Now, most people, you're not going to be shooting NATO in this gun. It is a race gun. I just did that to compare, kind of see the difference in the feel versus harder loads with the comp itself. Now, the cool thing is my buddy is actually working on, well, my buddy that owns this gun is working on a rig that'll be able to show you the recoil impulse and the muzzle rise of different guns, and it allows us to be able to compare this to different guns he has and a few different guns that I have, something such as this gun right here. It is also unloaded, and this is my Zev OZ9, or as I call it, Warhawk. There's a full build series on this particular gun in my on my YouTube channel here if you're interested in checking out what's all in this. And this particular setup has a Radiant Ramjet afterburner on it. And I did find it kind of interesting because this gun does have a steel frame with a polymer grip. So it's got a little weight to it, but even the weight this has is, this gun actually is a full pound, a little over a pound heavier than Warhawk here. But this gun actually in the hand has a pleasant recoil impulse, and I will say that's something to do with the fact that it has a polymer grip, so you're getting the absorption of the recoil through the polymer grip and the comp. And this also has a 3-stage DPM recoil system and a buffer. So the fact that this gun shoots pretty close to this, in my opinion, is pretty wild. And this gun's also a full inch at least shorter, and let me take the magazine out of this, and an inch on the mag well down here as well. I'm not going to go ahead and stack these on top of each other because I don't want to beat up his gun or mine as well. So thought that was pretty interesting. And like I said, once he gets that rig done, we'll be able to clamp this into it and shoot it, and clamp that into it and shoot it. And we'll be able to tell the difference more in a scientific manner of the difference of actual recoil impulse you're getting with them. But definitely kind of interesting that you can get pretty good recoil management with a gun that weighs a full pound or less. But that's not taken away from the Legion. This gun does shoot very well. It's a really smooth gun. The fact that you do have a thumb ledge up here to go ahead and press down onto is also really nice. I will say, for my hand size, the thumb ledge, if I get a comfortable gripping position, is a little bit too far away. If I go ahead and camp my hand a little bit farther forward, I can get to it. So you can use it. It works quite well. I mentioned the safeties earlier, that he had to sand them down. Now, I will say that with the extended safeties here, I did notice that if you put your thumb on here like someone with normal size hands will be able to do, you're not going to be able to easily drop the slide, in my opinion. And that's something he also had noted, that it's kind of in an odd spot because the safety's in the way. As you can see there, how much larger it is, and it's almost flush with it. So not a big deal for me either way, because I usually reload like put the mag in, come up with my offhand, drop the slide, and then rebuild my grip. And that's just how I've taught myself to do a reload, so I don't have to worry about breaking my grip to drop the slide. So that's something, if you have normal size hands, it might be a little odd for you to drop the slide. And also, it is not ambi. I believe I mentioned that earlier. So let's go ahead and talk about this trigger a little bit. This trigger is really nice. You have the ability to adjust the trigger shoe on it by moving it forward and backwards to adjust it to where your finger's at. And you actually have the ability to adjust it very easily through the hole in the bottom. I don't know if you've ever had a trigger that does not have a way to go ahead and get through the trigger guard to adjust it. It is quite the pain in the butt to put a little L wrench in there and try to adjust it. So that's a nice touch on Sig's half. It's not something you're going to be doing very often, but just that extra thought that they went into that versus the fact that they left the safeties too wide. kind of beyond me there. They spent the time to do that, but something as simple as that they couldn't have fixed. But let's go ahead and show you what this trigger feels like. Gun, like I said, is unloaded. Literally, absolutely no take up. Essentially, that's it. You're on the wall. Nice break. And a real short reset there. One more time there. You're on the wall. Break. And reset. And this trigger's coming in around 2 pounds, I believe. I don't have a trigger gauge, but that's what it feels like to me. And I believe that's what he actually told me, it was 2 pounds. So it definitely has a nice trigger on it. It is a competition gun. If it didn't have a nice trigger on it, it'd be kind of disappointing. Guess what I'm thinking about it is this gun also has a texture on the bottom of your trigger guard and also on the front if you like to wrap a finger around, and nice texture on the front of the front strap. And I like the grip texture on the bottom there. It allows your support hand to get a nice position there without sliding around. But really, it's definitely an awesome gun. I will say he currently has a Holosun 507 competition on it, which is one of my favorite red dots by far. The only thing's different about the ones I have is he has the green version in all mine, such as the one on the old Warhawk here. This one's red, and that's just what I've got used to, and I try to keep all my dots red so I don't have to confuse myself going back and forth, I guess. But the nice thing about this particular version of the X5 is a little different as well than the regular version is you can put the rear sight back on here and co-witness with certain dots. This one didn't allow them to, so he just left the rear sight off. But the fact that you can put it back on with this particular slide cut is pretty nice. And I will say the action on this gun is extremely smooth. I mean, it is a Sig, and it is, like I said, this is the X5, so it's got a little bit more hand fitting done to it. So I would expect it to be smooth. And what I'm thinking about here, you actually get 3 magazines that are marked 18 rounds, but with the X base plates that come on these guns, you get 20 rounds in them, which allows for them to go ahead and have enough to work with the mag well here. And that is something I did find kind of odd, is the fact that there is no front to your mag well. It's not really a huge deal, I guess. You just got to kind of be mindful when you're doing a reload to point the magazine back, I guess, into the mag well. Because if you're kind of holding it forward and coming into it, you're not going to have nothing to funnel the mag in. So, thought that was kind of odd, just a little bit different there, that it doesn't have a front to the mag well. But really, overall, I have to say, X5 Legion is an awesome gun. If you're looking at picking one of them up, you're not going to be disappointed with it. Definitely a good shooting gun. And I'm hoping one of these days I'll be able to shoot this in an IDPA competition just to get a little bit more time behind the trigger of this, because like I said, it's awesome. I really like it. I'd like to have one myself. Probably end up having to pick me one up one day. I might actually pick up the Zev version of the 226. That was the first more high-end 226 I got to shoot. And the fact that it's threaded, I can drop my suppressor on it. I figured it would be pretty cool. Like I said, if you're interested in an X5, you're not going to be disappointed with it. And that's all I had for you today.